The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon video. One thing I want to say right at the beginning of this video is how much I like the episode. It was, without a doubt, my favorite episode of the season thus far. It feels like House of the Dragon is really starting to find its footing. After watching this episode, I find all of these relationships far more interesting now. In fact, my own relationship with these characters is different. I find that I'm now far more invested in these characters. All of the actors were incredible in this episode, so let's dive into the scene so I can show you exactly what I mean. We immediately go inside Storm's End, a location we have never been inside before. This is the ancestral seat of House Baratheon, and it's also one of the mightiest fortresses in all of Westeros. Since this was the official home of Robert and Stannis Baratheon, we have heard a lot about Storm's End, but we never actually went inside of it until now. The episode begins with Rhaenyra sitting in the high seat alongside Lord Baratheon as she greets several of the lords of Westeros who want to win over her favor and hand. The first man we meet is a Lord Dondarrion, whose name you might recognize from Game of Thrones, as he is an ancestor of Lord Beric Dondarrion, the same man who was brought back to life again and again by the Lord of Light. Then, we meet a member of House Blackwood, a name you might not recognize from only watching the show. One interesting thing I should mention about House Blackwood is their relationship with House Targaryen. They actually come together and create one of the most interesting characters in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. Bloodraven, who is also known as the Three-Eyed Raven in Game of Thrones, is made up of ice and fire like Jon Snow. The Three-Eyed Raven's real name is Brynden Rivers. His father was Aegon Targaryen, the fourth of his name, and his mother was a lady known as Melissa Blackwood. Now, since his father was a Targaryen, he had the blood of the dragon, and since his mother was a Blackwood, he also had the blood of the first men, something they did mention in this scene.
The blood of the first men still flows in their veins.
When these houses united, Brynden Rivers, also known as Bloodraven or the Three-Eyed Raven, was made of ice and fire, one of the main reasons why I think he was such a special character. I like how this scene shows there is a member of House Blackwood with their eyes already set on someone from House Targaryen. Eventually, these houses will unite and make magic. Now, much of this episode will focus on Rhaenyra and her search for a husband. Shortly after Rhaenyra gives the room a vibe check, she's dissatisfied with who they have to offer, so she heads back home for the city. Now, before Rhaenyra does leave Storm's End, we do see some blood get shed inside of Lord Baratheon's hall. This is interesting because something like this will happen again in a later season. Only next time, Lord Baratheon will say, "I don't want any bloodshed in my hall," forcing a certain character to leave and get his vengeance elsewhere. Let me just leave it at that, because it will be a very big scene when it does happen. On Rhaenyra's way home, we get our only glimpse of a dragon in this episode when Daemon and Caraxes say hi by brushing up against the ship. As you could see in that scene, Rhaenyra was very happy to see that Daemon was back in the city. Later in this episode, we will see just how happy she really is. Now, back inside the Red Keep, everyone seems really nervous about Daemon's arrival. They're all whispering and shuffling around, worried about what will happen next. Not only because they know Viserys has been having issues with his brother, but also because Daemon is very unpredictable. They don't know what's going to happen once Daemon and Viserys see each other again. Remember, it has been 4 years since he was thrown out of the city. Again, we see Rhaenyra's excitement all over her face. Her father, on the other hand, is doing everything he can to hold frame. He doesn't want to look weak in front of everyone else. Viserys is expected to have some harsh words for his brother, who rolls up in there all nonchalantly with a crown of his own on his head. This is seen as another great sign of disrespect to his brother and king. As you all know, he knows exactly what to do to get a reaction out of Viserys. Not only does he have a crown of his own on his head, but he also already has a weapon drawn in hand. That is a threatening gesture that doesn't go unnoticed. I think it's funny how the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard notices this and immediately throws on his helmet, knowing that he might have to throw down. And he does remind him of where he is by holding his sword out in front of him, forcing Daemon to stop moving. But then, Daemon does what he does best. In one moment, he dishonors Viserys, then in the next moment, he lifts him back up by kneeling in front of him and offering his crown. Now, it's nowhere near as nice as the one Viserys is already wearing. His is made of gold, whereas Daemon's is made of what looks like driftwood. Another thing I love about this moment is how Daemon threw down his weapon and said add it to the throne. It reminded me of Sir Barristan Selmy when he did the same thing to Joffrey.
Add it to the chair.
Here, boy. Melt it down and add it to the others.
You can see that Viserys doesn't want to ignore what he's done, but at the end of the day, he does love his brother, so he embraces him in front of everyone, letting them know everything is fine. One thing we know about Viserys is he is worried about what everyone else thinks. Although he is angry at his brother, he doesn't want to fight with him in front of everyone else. It's a big reason why Viserys doesn't name Aegon as his heir. It's not only because he loves his daughter and wants to stand beside her, it's also because he knows how that will look in the eyes of everyone else. He actually says this right to Rhaenyra later in the episode. He knows if he makes Aegon his heir now, after already naming Rhaenyra, everyone will know he must be having serious issues with his daughter. He doesn't want the whole realm to know that his family unit is disintegrating all around him. In the following scene, Viserys holds a nice little get-together for his brother's arrival out in the backyard. As you can see, they have the beer sitting on ice, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard is overlooking the burgers and hot dogs on the grill, and Sir Criston Cole has the football game on the big screen. Everyone is having fun, especially Daemon, who sets his sights on Viserys' daughter Rhaenyra. This is when he ultimately decides he will want to have a little fun with his brother's daughter once the lights go out. What I really love about the scene is how we were finally given more insight into Viserys and Alicent's relationship. We now know for a fact just how unhappy Alicent really is. I like what they've decided to do with her character. They've made her more sympathetic, which will make their relationship dynamics even more interesting once Rhaenyra and Alicent start fighting over the Iron Throne. This might allow for there to be likable characters on either side, making our investments in them and our emotional connections to them even richer. I was worried that they might make Alicent a villain, but they haven't done that yet. As we've seen, she still does love Rhaenyra and wants what is best for her. So far, we see that she's not driven by the intoxication of the Iron Throne. I also like how we went back and forth from Rhaenyra and Alicent's scenes later on. We see just how different their lives are now. Alicent is stuck having all these babies in a relationship she really doesn't want to be in. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra is out having the time of her life. It was a sad sight to see Viserys, who is getting old and washed up, get on top of Alicent during their sex scene. Many would think that Alicent might have a great life because she's married to the king and living inside of this big-ass castle, but we see her life actually sucks. She's alone and isolated on most of her days. This isn't the life she wanted to live, and I genuinely do feel bad for her. I don't blame her for feeling that way either. I know I would hate living that life. Now, with that being said, we do also see that she does care for Viserys as well. We see that she does help him when he's bathing, and she also offers good advice when needed. This is great because it shows Alicent isn't one-dimensional at all. Then, like many of us assumed, Daemon has Rhaenyra sneak out of the Red Keep to join him in his nighttime festivities in the heart of the city. He shows her what the nightlife is really like. Once again, this is Daemon's way of getting revenge on his brother Viserys. Daemon knows how this will affect Rhaenyra's value in the eyes of the Lords of Westeros if she loses her virginity. In fact, she doesn't even have to lose it. The mere mention of it, or the thought of it alone, will make suitors look elsewhere for a match. So he knows exactly what this will do to Rhaenyra's name. Another scene that was very reminiscent of Game of Thrones was when Rhaenyra saw the actors up on stage. Many years ago, we saw that Arya was in the same shoes when she saw how everyone felt about her father and sister.
Ooh, what's happened here then? He brought you here, Ned Stark, because you're the brightest fellow in the land.
Someone in the city even called Rhaenyra a boy, which also reminded me of Arya. Rhaenyra now gets a glimpse of what everyone thinks about her and her little brother Aegon. In this scene, she says she doesn't care what they think. However, Daemon reminds her that she better if she ever wants to rule over them. This is actually foreshadowing something that will happen in the final season of the show. I won't say what that is right now, but let's just say the citizens of King's Landing will do something crazy. He then brings her inside a brothel, letting her see everyone having sex. He even begins seducing Rhaenyra himself, but suddenly stops soon after she starts enjoying it. Once again, like in the first episode, it seems as if Daemon's little dragon won't fly. He might want to find himself a maester to administer a blue chew. Now, during the Inside the Episode feature, the director basically said Daemon stopped because he lost control of the situation. He doesn't like it once Rhaenyra starts fully embracing the moment. In a sense, he wanted her to follow his lead. Then it's not long before we see one of the little birds notice who's there among them. We now see how long the capital has been using this system of little birds running messages back and forth from the inner city and the Red Keep.
I'll speak to him.
A singularly bad idea. Do you see that boy there? One of Varys' little birds. The spider has taken a great interest in your comings and goings.
As a way of getting back at Daemon, his former mistress, Lady Mysaria, or the White Worm, ratted him out to the hand of the king. She's the one who had the message sent to Ser Otto Hightower, informing him of Daemon and Rhaenyra's extracurricular activities. Lady Mysaria does that as a way of getting back at Daemon for the little stunt he did on Dragonstone when he said she was about to be his wife and have their son. That was only another one of his ways at getting a reaction out of Viserys. Now Ser Otto will have the information he needs to really shake things up inside of the castle. As Rhaenyra goes back inside, Sir Criston Cole is wondering how the hell she snuck out. He'd been standing there as a sentry all night, yet somehow she walked right by him. Now that Rhaenyra is all hot and bothered, she sets her sights on Sir Criston Cole. Mostly because he's right there, but also because they now have a great relationship. You have to remember by now, he has been Rhaenyra's guard for several years. They know each other very well, and she's had her eyes on him since they first met in episode 1. Now, I was wondering if Sir Criston Cole was actually going to go through with this. I wasn't so sure he would break his vows so soon. I don't think Rhaenyra fully understands, or maybe even considers what is at stake for him. He's meant to be there to watch her back, not blow it out. If Viserys found out he took his daughter's maidenhood, not only could he lose his job, but he could also lose his damn head. I thought he might reject her at first, but nope, he dove right in head first. Now, was it just me, or did Rhaenyra already seem like she knew what she was doing? I know she did just watch everyone have sex in the brothel, but damn, she was already looking like a seasoned veteran. 3 minutes ago she was a virgin, then, the next thing Sir Criston knows, she's doing the reverse dragon on a headstand. On the following day, Sir Snitch-a-Lot, Ser Otto Hightower, decides what he must do next. He actually gathers himself for a moment before informing Viserys. He knows deep down this will not only affect Daemon and Rhaenyra, but this will affect his relationship with Viserys as well. He knows he's about to drop a bombshell accusing his daughter of some foul shit. With that being said, Ser Otto says here goes nothing and relays the information anyway, and Viserys immediately denies it. This reminded me of when Cersei went to her father and revealed her incestuous relationship with Jaime.
This is a lie. You have been lied to.
Known what?
Everything they say is true about Jaime and me.
No.
Your legacy is a lie.
No. I don't believe you.
They're always in denial, at first. Although, this shouldn't be that hard to believe for Viserys, since this is sort of normal for his family. I mean, hell, even Alicent said the same thing to Rhaenyra in the Godswood.
Accusation? Is it? You Targaryens do have queer customs.
What I really love about the scene is how Viserys finally calls out Ser Otto for his over-ambition. He knows Ser Otto hasn't taken his eyes off that Iron Throne ever since Aegon was born. And he knows it's in Ser Otto's nature to do everything he can to move Aegon one step closer to taking the Iron Throne for himself. He assumes that Ser Otto was salivating at the thought of snitching on Rhaenyra. It's not long before Ser Otto realizes he might have overextended on this one because it does eventually blow up in his face later in the episode. Alicent overhears everything, and she's a little disappointed after hearing her father tell on Rhaenyra. She immediately goes outside and lets Rhaenyra know there are whispers within the Red Keep. Your secret is out. Rhaenyra lies right to her face and says Daemon never laid a finger on her, but we all saw what happened. And now it doesn't really matter what happened because Viserys is already furious, regardless of the fact. He has Daemon dragged into the Great Hall just to have his ass thrown back out of the city again. Daemon must leave at once and go back to his wife in the Vale. I actually have a very interesting video I want to make about Daemon and his wife in the Vale. I don't want to say exactly what it is just yet, but I think most of you will like it if you actually watch it. I will be releasing that in a few days, so keep your eyes open for the Daemon video. Before Daemon is thrown out of the house like DJ Jazzy Jeff, he reveals what he really wants. He lets Viserys know he wants Rhaenyra all for himself. And again, this is foreshadowing something that will happen down the road. Although he may never say it out loud, let's be honest, Daemon has his eyes set on the Iron Throne as well. He might not want it as bad as Ser Otto, but he can't ignore it either. Marrying Rhaenyra would set him up nicely, since Viserys won't name him as his heir. Daemon has to be thinking if I can't have it for myself, he can at least be sitting next to the woman who does. Viserys, on the other hand, says I don't think so. I already gave Rhaenyra the option of finding her own husband, but she's ruined that, thanks to you. Now Viserys will make the decision for her. Now Rhaenyra must marry Ser Laenor Velaryon. Not only will this help smooth things over with the Sea Snake, but this will also help strengthen Rhaenyra and House Targaryen's footing in Westeros. The biggest houses will be united once again. This is the match that does make the most sense. Viserys has to remind her again that she must get married and begin having her own heirs. She must further the line because eventually the winds in the north will rise and move south to extinguish life as they know it. Rhaenyra is reminded of what Aegon once feared. One day, the White Walkers will move south, and they will need a Targaryen on the Iron Throne to unite Westeros in order to stop them. She does understand this, but it seems like she doesn't really care. Either way, she does finally agree to marry Ser Laenor Velaryon, under one condition. She wants Ser Otto Hightower gone. He is one of the massive obstacles in her way of getting what is rightfully hers. Viserys agrees, and does just that. Viserys doesn't beat around the bush either. He lets him know exactly why he's removing him from the office. He doesn't like how Ser Otto is operating now that his daughter and grandson are so close to having the Iron Throne once he's gone. He knows Ser Otto won't do the right thing by making sure Rhaenyra ascends the Iron Throne like he wants. At the end of the day, he has lost faith in his hand. He doesn't like how his motivations are starting to blur the lines of duty and ambition. So, in order to get Otto's forceful hand out of the mix, he must send his ass back to Old Town on the next thing smoking. When Viserys removes his Hand of the King badge, Ser Otto looks genuinely broken inside. He looks shattered, and it was wonderfully done. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this episode was incredible. It's like everything has been shaken up and scattered to the wind. I think we're now finally starting to see everyone play the Game of Thrones. There's backstabbings, betrayals, marriage alliances, revenge seekers, sex workers, little birds, and everything else that makes Game of Thrones so great. I, for one, cannot wait to see the next episode. And by the looks of the new trailer, it doesn't seem like things will be slowing down either. Make sure you subscribe so you can see all of my new videos. I have been making 5 new videos every week, so you know there's a lot more heading your way. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching this video. I hope all of you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.